Thank you.
And our last reader tonight is Joe Giordano. We're also celebrating the release of your new novel, yes?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Joe Giordano, as a former international executive vice president of 3M, Joe Giordano's experience included running a business in the Middle East out of Athens, Greece. Joe's stories have appeared in more than 100 magazines, including the Saturday Evening Post and Shenandoah. His novels are published by Harvard Square Editions. Joe is among 100 Italian-American authors honored by Barnes & Noble chairman Len Riggio to march in the 2017 Manhattan Columbus Day Parade. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks everyone for coming. And thank you, Malvern Books, for your support. This is the third novel that I'm reading here at Malvern Books, so I really appreciate your hosting us. I thought Kathryn and Phil did a terrific job. Thank you for joining me here. By the way, this book, Drone Strike, which is the second in the Anthony Provati Thriller series, as has already been said, I worked in the Middle East and was inspired by that experience, and it's dedicated to my lovely wife, Jane. I'm going to read the first chapter, and then I'd be pleased to your comments or questions. Jihad. The billboard portrayed a masked ISIL fighter, dressed in black, carrying a Kalashnikov rifle. Alone in the rear seat of the silver Hyundai sedan, Karim grimaced. Reminders of ISIL's martial grip on his town were everywhere. Since ISIL, the Islamic State in the Levant, pushed out the Iraqi Shia controlled by Iran and Baghdad, Karim grew his beard longer. Beards with too short a measured length warranted flogging. Karim's position as the petroleum engineer and drilling manager at the nearby Iraqi oil field merited chauffeuring to and from work. The Hyundai maneuvered around the traffic circle. Karim gasped at the sight of 3 beheaded men in military green khaki, bodies lying crumpled on the pavement like piles of dirty clothes, their heads impaled on spikes, stuck into the ground behind them like tombstones. Papers pinned to their chests detail their offenses, the corners flapping in the breeze. ISIL's imposition of Sharia law prescribed extraordinary punishments. Karim averted his eyes. Such horrifying exhibitions had become too frequent reminders of ISIL's brutality. A man or woman could be grabbed by patrolling religious police and severely punished, even executed without trial or appeal. He hoped that his wife Farah and the children hadn't seen the display. Karim's face became determined. He'd focus on keeping his family safe during this unending war. The fighting and bloodshed had to end. Before entering his modest concrete-walled home, Karim ensured his family had full and flowing water tanks, precious water. He cleaned the grease from his hands with sand before leaving the rig site. Farah greeted him with a kiss. The tenderness belied her troubled expression. Without her hijab, her dark hair, fine features, and small cleft chin were revealed. Farah's voice was strained. I kept the children home again. While I helped Layla dress, she told me that an ISIL fighter gave her class a lesson in weapons. She clutched her forehead. He actually put a pistol into our daughter's hand. Karim inhaled sharply. That's insane. Jihad has no boundaries for these people. What are we to do? ISIL wants to turn our babies into suicide bombers. Tears edged their beautiful eyes. Karim squeezed her hand and softened his tone. That won't happen. We can't insulate Omar and Layla, but we can counter negative guidance. I'll speak to Layla. Karim comforted Farah in his arms. Allow them to attend school, otherwise their absence will be noticed, and we don't want the authorities appearing at our door. Layla's frightened by the explosions. Karim repeated the counter-arguments he'd raised before. Our home's here. We can't exist as refugees. My work, where could we go? How would I support you? Farah asked. How long can we go on like this? It was a question Kareem struggled with himself. He said, we must stay strong for the children. If the fighting moves closer, we'll have an excuse to keep them home. Will our lives ever return to normal? Kareem puffed out a long breath. Inshallah. Omar, wearing an iridescent green Nike football shirt, and Layla, in a purple dress, entered the room and ran to kiss their father. With a hopeful expression, Omar grabbed his soccer ball. Kareem looked to Farah and she nodded. Hugging his son's shoulder, Kareem smiled. Okay, he said, let's see if you can get a goal past me. They kicked the ball around the dirt until Farah called them inside for dinner. Before eating, the family recited Maghrib prayers. They sat on a black and blood-red carpet. Kareem and Farah's eyes met in unstated agreement. They'd maintain an aura of calm. Kareem hugged Layla close. He helped her reach food. She smiled and he kissed her forehead. After dinner, Farah and Layla carried the plates to the sink. Farah washed up. Kareem approached his wife and put his arms around her. Out of earshot of Omar and Layla, Kareem said, something else is bothering you. I sensed your nervousness in front of the children. Farah turned and said, the morality police stopped a woman today for immodesty. She had a hole in her sock exposing a tiny bit of skin. She protested and they whipped her. Kareem, the woman's cries, pitiful. I fear that I'll be next. I won't uncover my eyes even to bake flatbread at the compound's oven. Kareem said, ISIL is bad, but the Shia were worse. Have you forgotten the midnight interrogations? Our neighbors who disappeared? Since the Shiites took control of the government in Baghdad, they serve Iran's interests, and their militia pursue Sunni genocide. The government refused us weapons for defense. ISIL is our only solution. Farah's voice was agitated when she said, politics has destroyed our lives. Without your engineering training, you'd be conscripted as an ISIL fighter. How long before they grab our son? She grasped Kareem's hands. I dread the day that one of these bullies demands our daughter for his wife. Kareem took Farah in his arms. How could he console her when his fears matched hers? He said, our children are too young to be taken without our permission. Farah nodded tearfully. Kareem forced a steady voice. Try to stay calm, obey the rules, at least we have food. Most have it worse. We're living a horror. Be strong for the children. Farah wiped a damp cheek. Her face remained troubled. Kareem said, let's go to bed. We'll feel better in the morning. If I can sleep. Kareem kissed her and she nodded. All right, I'll prepare the bedding. Reluctantly, she left the comfort of his embrace. At midnight, the housing compound turned off the electricity generator for relief from the oppressive heat. The family would sleep on the roof. A cigarette might steady his nerves. ISIL prohibited smoking, but Kareem's status gave him access to Bizarre, a Turkish brand. He stepped behind the building out of sight of the street and lit up. An odd buzzing in the sky overhead roused Kareem's dread, and he looked up, dropping his cigarette. Too late. The exploding drone missile's compression blast flashed blinding yellow and knocked Kareem to the dust. His head smacked against a rock and he blacked out. He awoke 15 minutes later, groggy, head throbbing, hair matted with blood. Kareem fingered the 5-inch gash in his scalp and winced. A projectile had struck his face, leaving a second slash extending from his brow to his cheek across his left eye. He blinked and found he could see, although he felt like he'd been punched in the face. He smelled the singed hair. His torso burned raw. Where were Farah and the children? Fear shoved aside pain. Kareem struggled to rise. One canvas shoe had been blown off his left foot. He glimpsed the drone missile's target, a mangled black Kia Soul that lay alongside the dirt road and burned brightly enough to light the night. Even at a distance, Kareem felt the heat on his exposed skin. Smoke and dust from the blast still hung in the air. Over the ringing in his ears, Kareem heard crying, punctuated by screams of horror. rising from the ruined homes around him. The odor of nitrates and the sickly, sweet copper smell of blood ended Kareem's nostrils. He limped toward the pile of tumbled and broken stones, the ruined structure that once was his home. Blood stained the cinder blocks. He spotted a severed arm in the powdery dust. He fell to his knees. The hand's finger wore Farah's silver ring. Oh no. Kareem's heart chilled. Allah, no, please, not this. Tears welled. He rose and moved quickly. Within the foundation square, Kareem discovered the twisted, semi-naked remains of Farah, Layla, and Omar. They'd been thrown by the blast, strewn like department store mannequins. Kareem's hands clutched his face, wishing to block the images. He babbled their names. Kareem knelt to Farah first. He pleaded. None would awaken. They were gone. He wanted to cover them, but nothing remained. His body shook, and he collapsed prostrate, pounding the ground with his fists.